So once again, back to the How to Battle podcast. I just want to give a quick shout out to the sponsors, Tattoo Away. For those of you that don't know, I'm partnered with Tattoo Away. It's a amazing company, a new innovative way to remove tattoos. I'm actually going through the process myself. It's way less painful than laser. Actually, some areas you don't even feel it because they use this special numbing cream. It's cheaper, it's faster, it's just overall better. It's just new, so not many people use it. But if you're interested in learning more about it, you can check them out at tattooaway.com or go onto my social media channels or reach out to me as well, Instagram, and I can provide more information. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Tattoo Away for sponsoring the podcast. It's a great partnership. All right, fellas. So we're back in the studio to record another podcast session. And sometimes I'm inspired to do things, and I note that, and then eventually I take steps toward that. And one of the things that I was inspired by was a reconnection in a way to somebody who helped to transform my life and doesn't even know it. And that's the author and thought leader, Eckhart Tolle. And Eckhart Tolle came into my life when I was in prison through his book, The Power of Now, and then The New Earth. But The Power of Now is what we're going to talk about today. And I just wanted to create this space so that we can talk about the book and how it impacted us individually through reading it and just the principles from it and the ideas. Because a lot of people don't know that when you're in prison, you're just trying to find other ways to help you think differently, or escape through books, or you're wanting to learn something that's going to help you to get out of an old way of thinking or prepare to get out of prison. So The Power of Now found its way to me. I read it, and just everything that he talked about in that book helped me to start the transformation. And then eventually I was able to share it with others. So what I want to do is start with a quote, as I always do when I start my episodes, and then spark conversation on what that quote means to you. And this is a quote from the book. And then I just want to hear how this book, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, impacted your life in some way, or something that you took from it to help you through your transformation and your journey from prison to where you're at now. So, and also, please, before you share, state who you are. You guys are my great friends, and anybody listens to the podcast probably already knows. But for those who don't, state who you are, what you do. Currently, I know you all do amazing things, and everybody needs to know about that, and everybody needs to follow that and support that, because these are people who are actually doing amazing work, and they really come from nothing and have built something, which is incredible. So, the quote, and we'll start with Travon this time, because last time Giane said I picked on him last time. Yeah. So we're gonna start with So I'm gonna start with Travon, and we'll go around. But the quote is this: "The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. It uses you." So let me say it again. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. It uses you. What does that mean to you, Travon?
Well, I read the book habitually, so I understand where the author is trying to say the mind is basically a tool, and if you allow the mind to keep you in the present and worried about the future, you can never enjoy the moment, or you can never embrace what are you dealing with at that time. So being in the past is living in damnation, right? So looking towards the future is living in a state of unsatisfaction. You're never going to be satisfied if you're always worried about what's going to happen a year from now, or I can't wait till this happens. So once it happens, now you're worried about when this is going to happen, so you can never really enjoy the now. And it was a powerful it invoked something in me at the time, because at the time I was doing life in prison. So when he spoke to the mind, like basically, you know, always worrying about the future, because my future was basically I didn't know. And so like the thought of being like, man, I'm going to spend the rest of my life in prison, that was terrible. So the power that I took from the book was, look, don't worry about the future. Worry about right now. Worry about the things that you can fix. You know, get better with your education. Get better with like personal skills. Like, so if you can start building towards who you are in the moment, you know, your tomorrow will be better. But don't let the mind continue to live in the past and in the future, because you can't embrace the now. So that's what I kind of get from that quote.
And yeah, that's an amazing way of framing it. And like I know, because me and you were in the cell for a while together, and you've always been really like a present person, and I think that's why like you've always had like a good energy, and like even in the prison environment, just still like able to laugh and joke and smile.
Right.
Because you didn't dwell on the past, right? You
Nah,
didn't think too much about the future. The past wasn't really great, right? And
nah,
the future for you was a life sentence. So it's
right,
like, how can you really look for the future, right?
right,
So it's like you being present in just that moment. It showed through your
yeah,
actions, and
right.
that's powerful.
But it's crazy because like he was talking about resistance, like how like we resist and it creates a negative emotion within us. But if we can surrender, right? So
Mm.
surrender is like the ability not to just accept your circumstances, but to accept it in the moment, but also make plans to better you in that moment. You know, so surrender is like a real powerful tool when you're like dealing with like adverse situations. You know, like
Yeah.
if you could just surrender, that's basically to accept. It's not to just say, "Oh, I'm going to just sit here and not do nothing about it," but don't worry about the future. Don't worry about the past. Just focus on what you can do right now, and that's what
Yeah.
really
And
helped
when
me
you do
through
that,
that.
that's how you. That's when you start moving like water too.
Right,
You
like
know,
you
when you
you
when you can do that.
right, you become fluid with light.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going against. You're not like going against life. You're yielding to life, but you're yielding in a manner to where you're going with the current.
Yeah.
Like wherever it take you, you gonna
Like what is.
what
Like of
is
course we
is
don't want to be here, but this is now. What can I do to progress?
that
That's all.
part.
That's the only thing that matter.
Mm. Yeah. Bryson, before I get your really full perspective on this quote, which I could repeat if you need me to, I just want to mention that your book is right here next to The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. And man, like I think when I look at these two books sitting side by side, both of these books are transformative. Like both of these books, um, honestly, I think your book is probably more powerful because of where it came from.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Like this book, I read this book in prison
right.
when you had it just typed out in a book, and
Me too.
it, you know what I'm saying? We all read it,
Right.
and like to look at this now, and it's like published and put together and available for people to buy. I mean, that's just so much has to go into that, right?
Right.
And so I wanted to also just recognize Pearls of Ism and talk about your book a little bit too. As you're able to speak about the quote and just your journey with writing it, what's about, what somebody can get from it, and maybe there's similarities between these two books in a way. I
Right.
don't know, um, but yeah, what is your thoughts on that?
Can you repeat the quote again?
For sure. The mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. It becomes very destructive, and it uses you.
Yeah, definitely. And prior to prison, I used it wrongfully, and it did consume me. I had no control over it. I was being pulled every which way by external forces, that caused me to, earn that 30 years and stay prison at 19 years old. But to sum it up, that quote to me is like we always say, you are your own worst enemy and your biggest advocate. The mind is absolute power. That's the only thing you can truly have control over, because Eckhart also speaks about letting go of the ego. The ego deals with the I, is possessive, it's controlling, but under God's law, we never truly control nothing but ourselves. But under man's law, we could control these things, you know what I'm saying? So It all depends on how you look at it, but the mind is absolute power, period. Like, these words that we're speaking first had to be thought about. You know, me moving my hands, like, everything we do first is a thought, a decision, then a choice, and becomes our actions. You know, everything comes from the mind. Like, even the way we embrace pain, like he talked about the pain body in the book, the way that we accumulate these emotions, how letting something go or holding on to something. You know, what touched me the most in that book is when he talked about the past and the future both being illusions. Because yesterday is never coming back. You know what I'm saying? Yesterday, today, and tomorrow will always maintain a position within the cosmos and never break that law. So living in the past, and I want to be clear, because on Last of a Dynasty and on your podcast, we often talk to people that go over their past. So I don't want people to misconceive what we're talking about, but what we do is we visit the past. We don't live there. We visit it to find the lessons. You know what I'm saying? So that we can better be our best selves in the present and beyond. But too much of anything is not good. So the visit can be great, but to live there, to take up residency, that's when it becomes bad, because it's a lot of trauma there. It's a lot of pain there. It's a lot of, he talked about unresolved pain. You know what I'm saying? So, and that can keep you paralyzed, because it's a lot of resentment there. It's a lot of guilt there. It's a lot of regret there. And then in the future is always uncertain. So that builds up anxiety. That builds up a deep want, a deep desire to, but at the same time, a fear. So that can keep people paralyzed. But to visit it, to imagine what can be, to set up intentional goals, and it's a balancing act. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the type of person that I thrive off of pressure. I thrive off of a good level of stress when it's deadlines and when it's, you know, the heat is on. But once again, when he talked about meditation and having those moments, those breathing exercises, when I can bring myself back below that bar of too much stress, I do that. I find those pockets of time. But I always love living at that edge, though. And going back to the quote, I did that with this book. You know, using my mind as something that can benefit me and the rest of the world, allowing me to maximize my output as a human being, you know. And once again, all of y'all read this book in prison, even though it's completely revised because I became more intentional with it. You know, the book deals with our self-narrative, you know, in life. And even though I talk about the origins of storytelling, because I believe right behind God and the devil, story is the most powerful and influential thing in this world. You know what I'm saying? So before technology and all that, oral traditions was passed down, and the story always gave people a framework on how to survive in this world and thrive. But I hone in on the fact that's a story that we tell ourselves that has the powerful impact on us than anything. More than what we was taught in the household, in the streets, indirectly, directly, what I was influenced by. It was still the things I was telling myself about myself and the world around me that caused me to behave the way I did. So understanding that, going to prison, gaining insight and education, I began to change my self-narrative, my beliefs and values, the way I saw myself, the way I saw people, you know, after going through these experiences. And I wrote this book, Pros of Ism, Change Your Life by Changing Your Own Self-Narrative. And I teach people on how the process, on how they can change their narrative and how that can benefit them. So, and it's just amazing on how it all started in prison when all of our future was uncertain completely. You know, sitting right next to a book that had an impact on all of us. And man, and then Carlos Vasquez, he wrote the foreword to it. So it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's extreme honor, man. Like, and we talked about that in prison. Like, one day I'll write your forward, one day you'll write my forward, and we did that.
Right.
It's like, it's such a it's like, it's great to be around people, and every one of you is one of these people that like has committed to something and accomplished it.
Right.
Like, it's a powerful thing, man. Like, just like having a vision, a dream, a goal, and completing that.
Right.
And so like every one of us has done that. And yeah, it's an amazing book, and it's amazing. Just reality for people to really grasp onto that. Like you also just understand that like you can kind of write your own story, your own book, right? Like it doesn't matter where you start. It's like, the journey can shift quick through each chapter of life. So like prison is one chapter, before that it was gangs and crime. And now it's like the things we're doing, the chapters shift. And so like you can direct your own, you could author your own book and direct your life by actions and decisions and stuff. So yeah, that's powerful. Gianni, man, what do you think? And I'll read it one more time too, just the quote. And it's funny because I actually remember, I think we shared this book with each other.
For sure.
Yeah, and we used to talk about it, and we talked about New Earth too.
For sure.
It was one of those books that we were just kind of like on the yard, and we're like, man, that book is deep, it's powerful. Like we really like spoke deep into it and how we were able to live that right there in prison. For sure. Like, and this helped us get through those times when we would sometimes focus too much on the past or the future, which we didn't control. And so the mind is a superb instrument if used rightly. Used wrongly, however, it becomes very destructive. It uses you.
Yeah, so that quote is, I agree and believe it because I fell victim to it before, the destructive part and being used by my mind. And I'm gonna start from my past. I use my mind in my everyday life. I polluted myself with a bunch of drugs and the music, the culture, women, and that's all I thought about, getting fast money and ultimately putting all them things in my mind that's what I value, and ultimately that's the things I was out there doing, chasing women, being destructive, committing crime. So yes, what you do with your mind ultimately is what you're gonna how you're gonna behave. So now, if the flip side to that is, after I start reading things like that, it gave me a shift in my, my mentality, because it's a focus on the present and the now. And I think a lot of time it's hard to do that because we worry about things that we have no control over. And after reading that book, it kind of, at the time I was in my journey of college, studying the mind, the psychology. So I was already studying the mind. And when I read that, it kind of like stamped it, like how important the mind is. The mind is supreme. It ultimately, it controls all things when it comes to the human body. What you put in there is what you get out. It's a give or take thing. If you put pollution into your mind, you're going to be a polluted person. If you put healthy or, more so, positive things in your mind, or, you conduct yourself around positive people, that's what you're going to exhibit. So that's why I believe it's impactful that you really, really, really pay attention to what you put in, because that's what you got. It's like we like a plug. When you stick a something in the plug and the light switch, it come on. You feel me? The light come out. You stick the electricity, the light come out. That when you read a book, you read pornography, you gamble, you gangbang. That's what you're gonna do.
Yeah,
it's the same thing, ins and outs. But yeah, I agree with the book, and I like it because it helped me shift my thought. Honestly, I once was somebody that believed in a bunch of BS, and that's all I lived. I watched rap videos. I was into chasing women. I like to gamble. I like to gangbang, and ultimately, that's what I did. As soon as I started doing other things, reading books, studying, and hanging around positive people, that's what I became. So it helps change your perspective and the way you behave too at the same time.
Travon, do you think that this book is like relevant for you today and what you're doing? And if so, how do you think that is?
Yeah, for sure. Because like sometimes I think it's like in human nature to always project what's going to happen tomorrow, but you can't control that. Like you said, you got to focus on step by step what you need to do in that moment. So, I mean, let's say you trying to create a business, like you can't worry about the success of the business. You just got to start it. Then once you start the business, then you start, okay, I need to file my LLC. Oh, okay, now I need to do this. Like, you have to do the small things in between that, and the only way to do that is right now. You can't worry about, oh, I didn't do this yesterday. Oh, wait, tomorrow's going to be this. So, like, that's where the author, he was speaking to, like, how the mind is supposed to be a tool to advance whatever your goal is in that moment, but to always linger on damnation, like, damn, I messed up, I shouldn't have did that, like you already suffered the consequence of that. Move forward, or don't worry about something you have no control over tomorrow. Just deal with what's going on right now.
Yeah.
That's true. And for me, it's acceptance. When it spoke about acceptance, because being out here in the real world now as a grown man with grown people responsibilities, like even in prison though, it's like you learn to accept the worst things in order to maintain your sanity. You know what I'm saying? Like we've all seen people get stabbed to death. They left the blood there, resume yard. And we learn to accept these things, right?
Like,
within ourselves.
The antidote of acceptance, though, like.
Yeah, it's like what happened.
Yeah.
I have to move forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, to survive in that environment, it's a level of indifference you have to have.
But when you come to acceptance, so I'm going to cut you off, but it's the peacemaking of it, and then the problem solving antidotes.
Exactly. But the only problem you can really solve is how you live your life.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? What happened.
Right.
So it's like out here in the real world, let's say a car accident or your toilet flooded and it just irritated you. It was a bad morning to wake up to, or a close family member call you with their issues, as Carlos spoke about on my podcast. Like, every day is a battle.
Every day.
You know what I'm saying? So knowing how to accept these things as they are, but having that power to just control what you could. And as the serenity prayer is, having that wisdom to know the difference.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's acceptance that I use today. But really, it's all the principles, because once again, like, understanding that the past and the future is both illusions. You know what I'm saying? It's like people, speaking in general, hold on to the past, not realizing that then and now is two different concepts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They have their own time and space. So you're holding on to stuff from then and trying to bring it into the now. Right. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that you're holding on to it, you're blaming everybody that did something to you back then.
Right.
That was it. You're the one that's holding on to this.
Right.
You got to know how to let go, and the power of now, understanding your power of implementing the now, you know what I'm saying? And how you control your time and space now.
Right. And I think also, though, he was speaking towards, like, when you live in the past, right? You harping on something. You harping on something that's long gone, right? And as long as you harp on something, it affects you today. You feel me? No matter what it is, because your mind is so like, I should have done this or I could have done that. And then it's like it hinders you from moving forward. You feel me? So that's why he big on don't live in the past, only if you're using it like a reference point. Like, the past is important. I want to clear that up too. It's important if you're using it to not make the same mistakes. Right. That's the part we don't want to get, because it's important. But it's when it's like, if you talking about, like, oh, I could have done this, or I should have done that, or even if it's just like a dead one, someone that's loved. When we hold on to that too long, sometimes that grieving that hinders us too, because it don't allow us to keep going. Because whether it's your brother, mother, or something, you still in the past of, damn, I wish they was here. But sometimes you got to accept that they're not here and they're not gonna be here, and you just got to keep moving forward. So I like that too, because in the pen at the early stages, I didn't want to be there. It's like I was disgruntled. My soul was irked, but at the same time, it was like, this is what I had to endure, accept it, but work towards something better. That's the thing. You accept things for what they are, but you still have a plan to change it if you're uncomfortable with it, or if you don't like it. So that's a little thing I want to clear up too, because it's situational. You certain things you do accept. But you accept it to a degree, like, okay, I'm going to accept it because I can't change it, but I'm going to work towards a better outcome, if you get what I'm saying, you know?
But it's what are you saying? Like, it's crazy, because when I first came to prison, like, I didn't know how I was going to do that, right? And so, like, I think, like, pride kind of propels us through a lot of harsh circumstances. So, like, my pride in my mind, as a gangster, was like, man, I got to figure this out. So I remember like, look, you got to accept it, right? I hadn't read the book yet, but I remember like accepting it early, right? Like really, really early. And that, because remember, like back when we first came to prison, we used to do extensive amount of time on lockdown. Definitely. And I remember just being in the cell just like for months. And I'm like, man, how am I do? I remember, okay, so I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna read for 2 hours. Then I'm gonna go work out. And after I work out, I'm gonna bird bath. Then I'm gonna clean. So like you
it's like a robot.
Yeah, you try to your mind goes to these like tactics or defenses to help you get through things.
Survival mechanism.
Right. So like I think that was the power of now that I was employing at 22 years old. I just didn't know it.
Yeah,
definitely. Because that's what got me through it too.
Right.
Like when I got my time, me telling myself, you know what you was doing out there. Do your time.
Right.
Like that got me.
That's
through
the pride
it, you know
part, right?
Yeah.
The pride, like, hey man.
I think that's ego too.
Yeah, ego
when
too.
When you push up in there and you like, I'm this. See, it deals with the I. I'm that. I ain't gonna say the word, but I'm that guy. I'm and that like allow you to stand in that fire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And let the fire do what it do. To stand amongst these, like we used to say, lions, tigers, and bears, and be the last one standing, if so be it.
Yeah.
So it's like these, but it's a time and place for everything. Once again, like what he's saying is, let go certain things if it don't serve you at the time that you have them. Because I believe the ego has a place in life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Pride has a place at certain points of time, but too much of anything is not good.
But like the voices in our head, like we can't quiet it though. We can live in it now. Like I can say, okay, I gotta read, exercise, do this, but that voice in my head, them tapes that be playing, like, oh, this is bad. Like you can't, like it's hard to quiet.
Then or now, do you still experience that, or like that was just back then, or do you have?
Now I have a little more control of it, but my mind, I wander. Like I'm just.
How do we control that better?
So he says, it's crazy not to cut you off. He said something in the book though that I use today. He said you can be in the front row of your thoughts, meaning you at the movies, you in the front row and you can watch your thoughts on the big screen, right? And you can watch them and you can let them make you move or not. You can, like he said, you can sit there and laugh at, like he said, sit there and just be still. And the first thought that comes, you can laugh at that thought. Like, look, you feel me? I see you. But and he say that to not identify with your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You can have the thoughts. You can, entertain them if you choose to, but understand that every thought is fleeting. It's on you to manifest the thought, basically,
But don't that sound crazy? You are not your thoughts. You are not your mind.
But it makes sense because he make a distinction of many elements in that book. Pain body, how a being from, he separate human beings and beings, like the human, the physical part, the spiritual part, the pain part. So he make plenty of distinguishment of the different realms in the body. So it's all interrelated, though. That's the cold part. Like he said, the ego is important. Yeah. All these things are important. It's just on how you control them or manage them. Because that's really all thoughts. Our thoughts going to happen.
Right.
It's about controlling and managing them and using the ones that's important for your betterment. You feel me? Because I think in the past I used thoughts that I thought that was important for my betterment, but that's when I was polluting myself, going back to the original quote. If you can use your mind as a tool, or you can use your mind as something that's going to control you and destroy you. It's all about what you put in there and how you control it.
And that's really the quote again on how you could be controlled by your own mind.
Yeah.
Because
the tool is controlling
you. Having that warped way of thinking, that warped belief system, we can believe that what we're thinking and what we're doing at the time is serving us because of how we view the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The whole point is use it if it serves you.
Right.
But based on your thought process, your perspective, you can think it's serving you, but it's really not.
Right.
And
ain't that the ego?
Yeah.
And to go back to the
because growing up in the environment we grew up in, I believe that violence really served me. Like that's all I thought about, all I cared about, and everybody I looked up to cared about. So that's my whole thing. How every day, how can I advance in my violence? You know what I'm saying? In my destruction. Because I thought that was serving me because I didn't have the luxury of moving away from this environment. So I thought that served me. But in no actuality, I mean, who knows? But I didn't have nobody that encouraged reading, that even led by example to read, that use words that we're using now, that even try to have a conversation with you. Nothing was conversation. It was about who can win this fight. That's it. Yeah. So it's like I adopted that, and my mind began to lead me astray. And once I began to take control of my mind, boom, that's when everything changed. Me realizing my power to change the now.
It's amazing, like how, like, so I want to ask each of you real quick, how long ago was it that you read the book, The Power of Now, Travon?
When I first read it, it was like 2012, so about 13 years ago.
13 years ago.
Yeah, it was around that same 2013.
What about you?
Mine's probably like 2018 or something like that. 2017, around that time.
That's incredible because like that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And like you guys could still like remember this stuff. So that's how you know, like, and
Impactful.
you all have read multiple books.
Impactful.
But like it's so impactful that like you just still remember things from the book. And
help me survive,
right?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the power
like Bible,
of this of a book like this. And it's, you mentioned something. I mean, you said some profound stuff, Giane, like really, really just deep. But it just kind of confirmed to me like you're just like naturally just gifted mentally, and we saw that even in prison. We just knew that.
Right.
Like it's insane, like how you can specifically remember things like that from that book after so many years. That's crazy. But there was something you said earlier, and I didn't even know you were going to say it, but I had something written down that I wanted to talk about, and you mentioned it a little bit without even knowing that I was going to say this. And it's a quote, but also a question I have for all of you from the book. The quote first is, as within, so without. If humans clear inner pollution, they will also cease to create outer pollution.
For sure.
So you talked about pollution. You basically said that
right
before I even said it.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's powerful, and from the book, and you were able to like remember that, or like it resonated within you enough to come out in this moment. And so my question is, how do your thoughts shape your reality?
So again, the brain and the mind being supreme, right? It's tricky. Because it's what I tell myself, really. And the more I tell myself something, that's my reality. Oh, period. So in prison, right, I told myself I was gonna get out of prison one day. At that moment, that wasn't my reality, but it's my reality today. You feel me? Yeah. So it's ultimately the story I tell myself, right? Like he said, the storytelling is king. You feel me? And it's not just king to impacting other people. It's king to what you impacting yourself. Because what you tell yourself every day is either gonna hinder you or propel you. Like if you wake up on the negative side, like damn man, I ain't got no money, or I don't know where the next this gonna come from, you're gonna live in that until you find that solution. But if you wake up like, oh yeah, it's on today, I'm finna go hit the gym, I'm finna go attack this, I'm finna go do that, you're gonna live in that you see this is different in what you tell yourself. So I always big on just telling myself positive affirmations, telling myself how can I say, a better reality. You feel me? Because although it may not be my reality now, I'm always working towards something. So ultimately, it's just what I tell myself. And because our reality is, we create our own reality by what we tell ourselves and ultimately what we do.
Yeah, and I remember specifically when I was getting ready to leave, because we were cellies when I left. You told me like I'm gonna be out. Like, right. I'll be out. I'm gonna see you like real soon. And it wasn't like some people said things and you sense the doubt. Mm-hmm. But like for you, like it was just you truly believe that.
Unwavering.
Like unwavering belief. Yeah, and it was like it was so like for me, because I'm a believer in like manifesting things, it was just like when you literally probably like a year after I got out, I talked to your pops and he's like, yeah, he's coming home. It was, and people don't really know your situation. You weren't supposed to get out. Nah. Like you had multiple life sentences.
75 years with triple life.
Yeah. And you got out after doing how many years?
17.
17 years.
I was supposed to go to board on 2030.
Yeah.
And I got out 23. So that's 7 years in advance. I would have got out my first board, I believe. But
right. Yeah.
I saved myself 7 years for sure.
That's just like practicing this, like the reality of really seeing this put into practice was that belief, that living in the now, like, and just, and having like a strong faith that it's all going to work, you know.
For sure.
I'm going to be there, and it happened. So would you guys think about what, the reality, like how your thoughts shape your reality, your thoughts create your reality?
I'm gonna piggyback what Gianni said and what my book is about. You know what I'm saying? Like the stories you tell yourself is gonna affect how you function in this world. Your input affects your output. You know what I'm saying? So if you consume a lot of trash, eventually you're gonna be putting out trash. You know what I'm saying? So prior to education, that's all I was consuming was trash. You know what I'm saying? Like my conversations was trash, and that controlled me staying in that mindset. You already thinking it, that's why you're talking about it, but as you talking about it, that plants you even deeper in that. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm always talking about the hood. I'm always talking about the enemies. I'm always talking about how can we advance in this. I'm always talking about, you know, my name and how, you know what I'm saying, how I'm this and how I'm that. So I thought about it, but speaking about it got me even deeper into it, and then behaving in it, you know what I'm saying, staying in that pot, stirring the pot, becoming a, you know what I'm saying, that, like, you internalize it so much. I've internalized it so much that even after the change, I still feel that residue. You know what I'm saying? I still feel the triggers because it's been so long of just being deep in that. You know what I'm saying? But cleaning that through education, through, man, I don't even want to over exaggerate, but probably 700 books to this day, right. You know, talking to guys like you on a yard after yard. I'm off. Everybody already know when I come out, even when I was still in it and I'm in my process, if nothing's about to happen right now, I'm over here talking to old boy that can teach me something. I got a book in my hand. Yep. If I hear nonsense conversations, I walk away. I'm working out. Yeah. If it's not beneficial, I'm not talking about it. And everybody knew that. That was my push to where that energy attracted other energies of like kind, because now word's spreading. He told you about me and told me about you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. So stuff like that, when people know the page you on, it's going to attract that. So if you always on some bullshit, it's going to attract that, you know? Absolutely. So once again, your input affects your output, and what you consume in your music and your studies, what you watching on TV, like your relationships, because other people can affect your energy. Like all of that matters, and like my book is talking about, you got to change your self-narrative. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right in both instances, because you're telling yourself that. You know what I'm saying? And when Gianni came on last up with DYNG to talk about the little giants, we spoke about, you know what I'm saying, you can lose the battle even before you get in it. Right. Because of what you told yourself. Right. And you can win the battle even before you get in it because of what you telling yourself.
Play from the neck up, baby.
Exactly. The game play for the neck up.
Sure. That's awesome, man. Travon?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is that we see the world as we see it and not as it truly is. So, like, we see the world through what we put in our mind, whether it's pollution. Like, that's why I don't watch TV. I don't watch TV because TV will feed you things that can spark ideas, you know, because information spark ideas. So if you give me something, I might try to apply it to my situation. Like, well, I can do this like that. So if I'm consuming trash all day, I mean, you know, I'm going to attract trash. I'm going to talk trash. And so YouTube is my best friend because I can type in anything I want to type in, and it feeds my brain. Audiobooks, like I just start really getting into audiobooks because I drive a lot. So when I'm driving, I pop on the audiobook. I'm really trying to even like decrease my music intake, because music is like it's good when I'm working out, but just when I'm just chilling, like am I listening to Psyche in the Jaw, this, that, you know what I'm saying? So like your consumption of information is so indicative to who you will become and what product you will produce. And so I'm very conscious of that, you know,
Yeah.
like consumption of information. That's like key point that drives me to, you know, keep going and build on what I already have.
Yeah, yeah, and man, and so as we close, I mean, this is it's powerful every time I get, you know, to around all of you and we're able to do this. And
Most definitely.
as we close, I just want to go around and each of you just any last thoughts and you know, like always, where can people find you, connect with you? If you have, you know, anything you want to say to anybody out there, this is the time. So we'll start with Travon again.
My name is Travon Harris, and I am the CEO and founder of Community First Power Washing. You can find me at www.powerwashing.com. If you would like to leave me an email, you can also email me at treyharris@communityfirstpowerwashing.com. I have a service that, you know, concrete cleaning and things of that nature, and I'm also a truck driver by trade.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no really. I think we covered everything on the power now, but
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for inviting me out here, man. I really appreciate being on your platform, man. It's always a pleasure, brother.
Of course, man. I love the jacket, man.
Oh yeah,
You look
man.
sharp, man. You look like a
Check
young
him out.
Suge Knight right
Check
now.
him
Oh
out.
man,
Check
that's
him
Suge
out.
Knight, man. That's Suge Knight, man.
Nah. Bryson.
My name Bryson McCalley, founder CEO of Last of a Dying Seed, podcast / YouTube channel where we take real stories from real people in the real world, but we apply them to movies. So people come on, they tell me a movie that they believe best relates to their life experience, and we use that movie to anchor our conversation, you know, and it allows us to find the story within both stories, you know what I'm saying, the universal truths that we can affect change throughout the world, get people better in touch with their humanity, and to have a little more empathy. So I got a book, Prosaism, that just came out a few months ago, where Carlos Vasquez wrote the foreword to. I'm a film student. I'm a production assistant. I'm in production on a concept film trailer as we speak called Battle for Pedigree. You know, and y'all be on the lookout for that for the pre-release party, and we're going to use that to raise money to make the feature film. But yeah, I'm in all things film and media, just to keep it short, and we're going to continue to grow. And I just love, my final words is I just love when a plan comes together. Like, this was all just a thought once upon a time, you know what I'm saying? And after that thought, any one of our lives could have been taken. You know what I'm saying? So this right here, it's a bigger plan at play. And I'm just grateful to see us all right here, surviving and thriving. And that's my high. I'm chasing gratitude. You know, I feel like every day I wake up, what I do is showing God that I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? If I don't do nothing, it's like, how I give you all of this and you're not doing nothing with your life. So that's why I look forward to anytime we can make a play.
Right on. So, what's up with my good people? It's your boy Coach G, Fatally Fit. Before I get into that, though, I would like to say this Power Now is a must read, though. I've been asked plenty of time, you got any books that you should read? And that's always one of them. It's not an easy read, though. It's one that's going to have you thinking. So if you do decide to pick it up and give it some attention, though. But after that, also, another must read, Prosaism. Check my boy out. He always drop heat. He got gems. You just gotta just pay attention. You just gotta pay attention. That's it. You just gotta pay attention. Now with that, my name's Giane Lollar. I'm the founder of Fatally Fit. Fatally Fit is a body transformation program where I help develop and or change people's bodies to whatever they like. You know, whether you want to get toned up, whether you want to lose weight, whether you want to get stronger. I'm your dude. You can find me at Fatally Fit on Instagram, and you can also find me at ISSA at Giane Lollar is my website. Go check me out.
Yeah, thank you, fellas. It's I always love to hear you all like say what you do, and to hear that, because like we're all like founders and CEOs here, and there was a point in our life when we introduced ourselves, it was a name that we had created, a fake name, and behind that was a gang that we represented. And that was all we had. That was our identity, right? And now to like hear you all like say your real names and like the things you've accomplished, the greatness is a powerful transformation for people who think that change is impossible. Like you're in front of 4 people that've done it.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? They come from really difficult times, but it's because of books like these and that help us do that, and good people and belief in ourselves and having your tribe and so many things. But I tell people, if you want to start somewhere, just start gaining knowledge, start reading,
Man,
start watching videos.
Education.
Start learning. And that's the way that anybody in any place in the world that wants to transform their life could do at any moment, and be present in that. So
For sure.
I never thought I would have said that ever. That
Education.
knowledge is power.
What?
I'm a part of that cliche now. Like, what?
And then what you do with it is even powerful.
yeah, more power.
Hey, look, what you do with the knowledge is
Yeah,
that's
because
what
it'll
that's
become
what-
solid knowledge until you actually
Apply.
put it into play.
Apply.
Before that, it's
Application.
just information.
For sure. Also, shout out Carlos, man. None of this is
Shout out
possible without
Carlos,
Carlos,
man.
man. Appreciate
Yeah.
you, bro. Thanks for having us.
Warrior in the
How
Garden,
to
man.
battle.
Must
Yeah,
read.
had a battle. Yeah, more in
Yeah.
the garden. Yeah, go check him out.
The
man.
Price.
The price. Yeah,
Oh,
that's another
damn.
one.
Yeah,
That's another one.
that's a whole nother hour to
That's a
list
whole
everything
nother
he
hour.
done
Yeah.
did.
Appreciate y'all, man. I love you guys, man.
You too,
and
bro.
man, I'm just grateful. So thank you.
For sure.
Thank you, bro.